Welcome everybody to the Braddog Media Show. My guest today is an international A&R for Sony AMG, also the founder of SEM The Label, a networking and educational community for independent music artists. He currently has almost 2,000 students in his hip hop marketing courses. A beast in the marketing game. Please welcome Scott Gringo Blair.
I like beast in the marketing game.
That's right. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How's it going?
Going great. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday, taking some time out of your weekend. First thing Saturday morning.
My pleasure. I was up late and up early, but I got my coffee. You could see that, so I'm good.
There we go. Man, so we were just talking a little bit before this got started. You're on the move a lot. What's this past week been looking like for you?
Um, so I've got various sources of income. I'm a firm believer in multiple streams of income. So I've got all kinds of side hustles, and then of course, a day job contract. And so all of it just requires a lot of commuting and a lot of traveling. And there's some other things I guess I could throw in there too. My wife and I both love traveling. Whether it's state to state, city to city, country to country. I've been to like 14 nations now, overseas. Actually met my wife in Brazil. And so my wife's only been stateside now since 2015, 14.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a lot of the U.S. she hasn't seen. We're out near the Colorado border right now. So we go over to Denver quite a bit, Colorado Springs. We just recently went to Taos, New Mexico. First time we'd been there, mountain hiking, some fun stuff like that. But we always turn everything into a business trip too, because there's always opportunity to meet new music artists, to do retail arbitrage, just to make connections, and then you get to write it off. So.
Hey, I love it. And with this kind of state of the world, I mean, road trips are perfect right now.
Yeah. And you got to wear the mask, and you got to look at your quarantine restrictions before you go to certain cities or states. But yeah, to get away, you get an Airbnb up in the mountains or a hotel away from stuff, and just spend some time together and see some new things. It's nice.
That's awesome. So you're kind of all over the place throughout the week, but you're actually based in Kansas, right? How close are you to the Kansas City area?
6 hours, maybe.
Oh, really? It's that far?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, I'm almost Colorado border, so I'm Southwest Kansas, tumbleweed country.
Nice. Um, yeah, man. Things just seem so interesting in the music world right now. I kind of feel for artists, so much of their money comes in through concerts and merch sales at concerts and things like that. I mean, what's kind of your experience with 2020 and how are artists, getting by right now?
That's a great question, and I don't think it changes for the music industry versus any other almost industry or day job you might have, or whatever gig right now. We're all taking this day by day, right? We're all kind of building this plane as it flies, and we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. So yeah, losing the touring, because let's be honest, streaming has changed everything. Artists don't make a ton of money unless they're superstars from streaming. They really make their money off tours and merch, like you said. And so that has hurt the industry. And I really feel for guys like Live Nation and some of these other companies that's their livelihood. Also, roadies. Think about all the roadies and sound engineers and light people. So it's hurt a lot of people. My heart breaks for them. But I'm the eternal optimist. You got to find the good in everything. You got to, I practice gratitude. I'm not saying I'm grateful. I'm saying I literally practice gratitude. It's a practice of mine that gets stronger and stronger every day. And so I just try to find the good in it. And the good is that this is forcing those people who really want to do this and stay in it to become creative, to pivot. And new things are going to be birthed out of this. So in the long run, I have total confidence this is going to be the best thing that happened to music artists, because it's forcing them to learn other ways to develop income, to connect with fans, to be creative. We've seen a little bit of it, right? So we've seen these Instagram lives and these Zoom concerts, and they don't replace the real thing, but we've seen artists start to use some creativity to stay afloat, to stay doing what they love to do and stay connected to their fans.
Yeah, it's been super interesting to watch. Have those, like live Instagram concerts and things like that, have those been successful? I don't think I've actually watched one.
There has been. So there's been a few people that have done really well with it. Tory Lanez, DJ D Nice, um, and there's been kind of these battles they've set up between famous nostalgic artists mostly. All that stuff has done really well. Um, but it was kind of one of those things. I don't think if you were an early adopter, most of those people stole your thunder. If you tried to get on it a little bit later, um, people weren't buying into it. If you already didn't have much of a fan base, people weren't buying into it so much. And then there was the pain of, streaming actually went down, I think, for a hot minute, because there's less people commuting. You're, at least in hip hop, you're not bumping hip hop necessarily when you're home working on crafting your next email to your potential sales candidate. That type of stuff I think hurt them. So, but those who I know a lot of other people who took advantage of it and really grew their YouTube channels, really grew their Instagram, because they were stuck at home too, and so they just dove in and started connecting with people, made the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, props to them for figuring something out. It's so weird. Um, Man, one industry that's kind of tried the live thing through Instagram and whatnot is stand-up comedy, or at least some have tried. That's that's so cringeworthy to me. It's like they'll say a joke, no reaction. I mean,
Right.
oh, that'd be so painful to do one of those. I
You
couldn't
know
imagine.
who's done well though for stand up, in my opinion, is TikTok. I have found maybe in the last 3 months, half a dozen stand up comedians who I didn't know previously, but going through my feed, I would see somebody, and then they'd have one of their good jokes from live inside a club. Then I immediately went, look, that was funny. Do they have a stand up on Netflix? Do they have I started looking for where could I find their show. So if they were smart, they took advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. Man, but TikTok though, is that going away?
Man, what a great question. I don't know. I've been posting on my Instagram about this a little bit and having this conversation, and it's definitely split some camps. I'm kind of there's certain things I go my gut on, and other things I just let the data decide. And this is one of those I think I'm going to let the data decide. Now, if we take it into a historical perspective and we look at, I remember I had a friend who turned me on to Vine, and he was gun ho about Vine. And then when Instagram replicated what Vine could do
Yeah.
and went from photos to videos and stuff, I said, man, they're done. And he's, oh no, because he was committed and he had built a strong following there. But yeah, it killed him dead in the water. Same thing. Snapchat was really taking off. They rolled out Instagram stories, and it only took them 6 months to overtake Snapchat as far as users on stories versus Snapchat stories. So my fear is for TikTok, they've got several things going against them. I love the platform, but they got some things going against them. And number one is, this background of China and the security issues and the everything else that comes along with China and the issues. They've got India and several other very large nations. I mean, half the world's in India, and now you're
Yeah.
banned in India. You've got President Trump, in my opinion, basically saying, if, I don't want to get political. I'm not political. Not Democrat, not
Yeah.
Republican. I'm just a hustler.
Likewise.
But he's saying, basically, if you don't get bought by an American company and make a payola to the Treasury, we're going to find a way to ban you and shut you down. in the U.S., which is scary for them and could really hurt them. Now we have Instagram rolled out Reels. Are they going to do the same thing to TikTok that they did to Vine and Snapchat? And I don't know. We got to see the data. So I've got, a lot of young guys in my circle that they're like, nah, man, Reels is for you old boomers. And and there's different arguments to it. I'm happy in one point because I like having everything on one platform. And I go back and forth from posts to IGTV to stories, and now I'll add Reels into my little circulation and just to stay up to date on everything. But the other side I've been thinking about is you act different. You should act different on each platform, right? And TikTok's more fun necessarily than Instagram, and I wonder if they'll mesh, because like I wouldn't want Instagram to become LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn for something else. I put a different type of content on there. I go there to search for a different type of content, to build different type of relationships. And so, sometimes I like that division. Sometimes I like having everything in one place. So I don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, man, you make a lot of good points. I think something I was kind of thinking of as you were talking there, I feel like it benefits the users to have everything on one platform, but I think it negatively affects the creators because, like you were mentioning, you can kind of go at each platform with a different approach, different creativity, but when everything's all on one platform, it's like, I don't know, it kind of limits what you can do a little bit because it's all, a similar audience where, TikTok audience is completely different from an Instagram audience.
Yep.
But now if everything's in one place, it's pretty interesting how you go about targeting and reaching people that way.
Yeah, and you get stuck in one voice, which is not helpful. So I use Instagram more to speak to artists. And the way I speak to artists is different than the way I'm going to speak to music industry professionals on LinkedIn and the content I want to provide them or receive from them. So I don't want the record label executives or big name industry folks coming over and seeing maybe a certain way that I dress or talk to the artist. They're not going to receive it the same. So yeah, you're right. It hinders the creator for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, we'll see how powerful TikTok is. It has a lot going against it, but it has a lot of users on it. It might survive. We'll see.
Yeah, and music space wise, especially hip hop. I mean, Triller is another one that people need to keep an eye on. It's still a little bit under the radar, but they've made, I won't call them opportunistic, but smart. When all this started happening with TikTok, they really stepped it up, and they went and brought in some influencers that they got off TikTok to now just solely represent them. They became, as soon as TikTok got banned in India, they became the #1 downloaded app in India. So they had a lot of things, moving pieces that are really working in their favor. So I wouldn't count them out for my music artists. They still might be a very viable option. And there's something to be said too, man, Brady, about dominating. I'm still a big fan of this, dominating a platform that not everybody's trying to be on. I'm a big believer in Jim Kelly's 1,000 True Fans. Or Kevin, what's his name? I got a friend named Jim Kelly. Kevin Kelly.
I think it's Kevin. Yeah, I believe it's Kevin Kelly.
1,000 True Fans concept, right? So the ASAP Ferg, the ASAP mob is a great example of this. They built their following on Tumblr. They did real heavy Tumblr. Everybody was fighting for attention on Instagram and Facebook, and they just went over to this other platform and said, let us dominate here. Because if you can get 1,000 diehard fans, 10,000 diehard fans, man, you can go on tour. You can start selling merch. You can start getting streams. And it's less competition over there. So maybe go be the #1 guy on Triller while everybody else is trying to build reels and win on TikTok.
Yeah, man, totally. And that's something like, it's big in the music industry, but I mean, that could apply to really anything, a business, a podcast. You kind of need that core group of diehard fans to kind of grow out from there. You can't really try to just reach everybody all at once.
Yeah. It's just scaling. Any business is just scaling. And so whether we're talking about music industry or my retail arbitrage or social media marketing, podcasting, selling books on Amazon, I mean, what you got to do first is you've got to get one person besides your mom and your aunt and your best friend and your colleague, somebody, a complete stranger who buys your product, and then reviews it, whether they send you an email or leave it online and says, man, I needed this. Thank you for creating this. I love this. This was great. If you get one, then I guarantee you out of the 8 billion people on the planet, there's a group of 100,000 that can connect with it. And so that's what you got to do. You got to start spending money and advertising and networking and find those 100,000. So when we talk about podcast listeners or music, that's the same thing, right? So we get 100,000 people that are listening to us on a platform. Now we can put out a call to action. 10,000 people are going to open that email or check out that link. We can look at our numbers, right? If we collect our data and we use it smart, so we know we're going to get a 10% reaction. I'm just giving examples, but 10,000 people are going to open that email and 1,000 are going to purchase. So you've got a $10 profit margin on a product, or a course or a class or a hoodie, and you do that 3-4 times a year. You don't spam them to death. You give value, and once a quarter you send out that email and it's a $10,000 pop. Now you're making, $30,000-$40,000 a year off 4 emails, and you can walk away from your day job and really focus on scaling your company.
Definitely. I'm interested in hearing, a little more, specifically like with artists, is that, like, how would you recommend an artist kind of start from scratch, when building an audience? Do you recommend spending money right away in advertising, or do you recommend, going more of the organic approach of connecting with people one-on-one? How does this kind of, build from nothing?
Man, great question. So I hate to say this because people get mad at me. It's different for everybody. It truly is. And you need it to be, because I think we all start out right. We hear some music that we love and we fall in love with it. So then we want to be Jay-Z. We want to be Biggie. We want to be whoever, the latest guy is, J. Cole, whatever. We want to be that person. So we start mimicking them until we find our own voice. We do the same thing in podcasting. I've done it in writing. We hear podcasts, we get super fired up, and listen to Entrepreneur on Fire every day. And you're like, man, I want to do this. And I want to interview people. So, and then we ask some of the same ending questions or starting questions until we find our own voice. For the first part of the process is really, get your first 10 podcasts out of the way, get your first 10 songs out of the way, get your first 10 interviews out of the way, and start to develop your identity, your voice, your brand. It's fine to start off that way, but eventually you've got to let your personality come out and shine through. That's what's going to connect with people. Organic is dead. It exists on TikTok for the moment. TikTok's young. But it's just like drug dealers, right? The first one's always free. That's how they get us in. So Facebook comes along and man, they give you 20%, 30%, 50% organic reach on this stuff. And then you watch it go from, 2012 to 2015, 16 down to 1, 2, and 3%. So early on, and this is going to happen to TikTok, I hate to tell you guys this, early on, it's easy, man. You go in and you start throwing up this stuff, and all of a sudden you grow this page on Facebook to 100 or TikTok to 100,000 users, and people are engaged and interacting. And a year later, you make a post on that page with 100,000 people, and 2,000 people see it. And so that's what they do. They allow you to grow it. They build it up. They get everybody hooked. But now it's diminishing returns. You got to pay. They're a business. They're not a charity. And I understand the business model, but you got to pay now to show it to these people. So for me, I would find my voice, my true authentic thing, because that's what nobody else can give the world. You're going to attract the right people to it. Not everybody's going to like it. Not everybody's going to enjoy your style of music. It's subjective, or your podcast, or your style of writing in your book, or your clothing you designed. but you find your original voice, which will help you find your audience. My second thing would be reverse engineer your 1,000 true fans. I would go after that 1,000 true fan model. I'm a firm believer in that. So you really want to build relationships really strong until you get that fan base laid. And then probably the other thing I always tell music artists, and this is big because there's a lot of that same old stuff in music, right? Everybody, it's all about sipping lean and the women and the clubs and the bottles and the clothes and the car. And it's like, okay, I've heard this a million times. So when somebody comes on and gives you something more personal or original, it's easier to latch onto. It's easier to find your 1,000 fans. So what I always challenge the artists to do is if I took you to a party right now in LA or Atlanta, there's 100 people in that room. And I say, I need you to go in there and build some relationships, but you can't talk about music. You can't tell anybody you do hip hop. You can't tell anybody you're a musician, all that. You got to find something else. Who are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with the guys that like MMA or the gym rats or the cokeheads or the queers or the Christians or the, whatever your, different audience is or whatever you're attracted to or whatever you're into, whatever the anime crew, whoever you find around there, the filmmakers, the guys are into ayahuasca or deep meditation. You're going to find some group that you're like, oh my gosh, have you guys read this book? And you guys are going to start chatting. That's who I want my music artists to go after as their first audience, because they're going to relate to you on another level and you guys can have conversations about other stuff other than new release, check out my new track. But if you have something else in common, I think it's much easier to build that. So, and it doesn't mean you have to rap about ayahuasca or anime or about being part of the LGBTQT community or your faith, but maybe you have your favorite character from anime on your shirt in the video where you're rapping about the lean and the drugs and the women and the mansion. Maybe you make a reference to it in your song. Maybe you're adopted or a foster kid. So you've got something on your shirt that reveals that. Or you're going to give a proceed of the portions from the streams or the merch sale to your local foster community or the adoption, World Adoption Organization, National Adoption Day group. Some way to connect with people. You're trying to build that original first 1,000 fan base. That's a great way to do it, I think.
You know who does this really well is, speaking of ASAP Ferg. He loves bikes, right? I'm sure you've seen some of his music videos. I forget which one where he's riding around on his bike, like with the whole crew. Like, I mean, could you imagine, liking bikes and liking hip hop? I mean, ASAP Ferg's your guy,
right?
After that, and
yeah,
like
absolutely.
even at and speaking of like ASAP in general, like Rocky, he's big into fashion, right? That's really unique for a hip hop guy. Like back when he was like first starting, he was like really like a real fashionista. Like nobody was doing that. Like so unique at the time, and now there are a lot of people copying. But I mean, at the time, that was really unique of him.
Yeah, for sure.
Who'd you listen to growing up, hip hop wise? How'd you fall in love with hip hop?
Oh man, so this is a great story. And I'm sorry I'm long winded, man.
No, you're good. I like it.
I'm a talker, but so I grew up in the Midwest in Southern Ohio. Pretty dominant, especially elementary age, all white community, pretty much. And my brother and my cousins and all my friends were really into rock and some country. It was very common. My mom listened to a little bit of R&B and disco while cleaning the house. She was more of a pop, whatever was popular on the radio. My dad was an old school country, gunslinger ballad type country. So we're talking about Marty Robbins, even some Jim Croce and some different people like that. But so, I mean, not a lot of urban influence in my home or environment at all. But I grew up in the era of the b-boy, where we started getting a little bit of rap. Breakdancing was becoming a thing, and my brother's best friend at the time went to New York to visit some family, and he came back with Run DMC's original cassette tape, self-titled Run DMC, and gave it to my brother kind of as a, hey, I picked this up for you. I got one for you. It's really good rap music and stuff. And I remember I put that into my little boom box in my bedroom, and I was done. That was it. There was no other music for me from that point on. I fell in love. I mean, in love. I'm not like just a fan and eclectic. Like hip hop was in my blood. And you cut me, I bled. Run DMC. It was just the most incredible thing I had heard. And Rock Box and you had a lot of different influences in there, and I could really hear it. But man, it just really spoke to me. And from that moment on, I knew that hip hop was the only music for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I do listen to country sometimes, and I can appreciate somebody really strong in another subgenre. But day to day, yeah, hip hop is my heartbeat.
Love it. I kind of have a similar story when it comes to hip hop, I guess. I mean, growing up, I was like, especially my mom, she was so strict with me, right? Nobody listened to hip hop, and in the family is, not that there isn't hip hop that isn't clean, but man, the artist that really like blew my mind was Eminem growing up.
Oh yeah.
When I'm in this, strict household, right? And I hear like Shady's Back. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? They're like 12 years old. Man.
Yeah.
So he was a big one for me.
There's something about that age too. For whatever reason, it's our DNA, especially as young men, and our teens and 20s to rebel. Like we're looking for something to be pissed off about or to have shock value. I was in high school when NWA dropped, and I can't identify with being oppressed by the police in the inner city and having to survive gang life day to day, just walking to the corner store. But did I grab a hold of that music and say, yeah, F the police, and got like fueled and fired up by it? And yeah, wanted to be angry about something.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like, take it out on like teachers or whatever kind of is in your world at the time that you want to rebel against.
Yep.
That's funny. Yeah, man. So you have almost 2,000 students in your courses now, over 1,900, last I heard. How did you start this? Like, you don't get to that number overnight. Like when and how did this all kind of get rolling?
So, man, here's something though to speak about marketing. That to me, it's a demonstration, number one, of the power of marketing. I've been a number one in small subgenres, best-selling author on Amazon, self-published. I'm a horrible writer. I'm horrible, but I'm great at marketing. I've sold thousands of T-shirts online over the years, and coffee mugs and stickers. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't have a screen printing press, nothing here, all drop shipping. How did I do it? I'm a good marketer. So kind of the similar thing, and it does apply to music too. We all can name people that can't carry a tune in a bucket, but they've been number one pop stars. Let's be honest, Britney Spears can't sing. But somebody saw something that had broad mass appeal, right? If you were a little girl when she came out, you wanted to be her. If you were an older pervert, you still paid attention to her because they dressed this little girl up sexy. And then they put her in the right studios with the right marketing budget and reverbed her voice and gave her a dance choreographer who stepped that game up, and bam, you got a superstar. So there's a lot to be said about marketing. So the way I really got into this was I was doing, I have a social media marketing company. I was really focused on real estate agents, hair salons, and restaurants were my big clients, and didn't enjoy it so much. I love the marketing aspect of it, but sometimes those clients can be very finicky people and hard to deal with. So it was a challenge for me dealing day to day with those people, some of them. But so I had a friend of mine, a young man who I used to do social work, and he was actually in an orphanage that I helped establish, who was trying to do, he's now in his 20s, was trying to do hip hop. And he reached out to me and said, man, nobody's listening to my music. I've uploaded on Spotify. Nobody's paying attention to me. I know it's good. Can you help me? I know you're a bit of a marketing guru. So I went and listened to it, and I said, man, it is good. I mean, I know hip hop, and that's good. And so I said, I cared about the kid. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll help you. And in my research of helping him, I saw another artist who I just passed by, and it was one of those moments where I watched this kid on a video. Same thing, nobody knew of him. I was looking at independent artists, what indies and small artists were doing, and this kid had the it factor. I mean, he really had it, and I was like, oh man, this kid. So I just sent him a message to encourage him. I said, hey, I just watched your video, and I just want you to know, man, you got it. Keep going. And you just earned a new fan. Keep me up to date with what you're doing. Best of luck to you. Same thing. He hit me back, said, I appreciate it, but I see you're kind of a marketing guy. You think you could help me? So I start helping these guys a little bit. And the deeper I went down this rabbit hole of helping them, I started realizing, man, that there's a big hole in the game. Distribution has changed the industry. It's given an opportunity to music artists that never existed before, with CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, Spotify, Apple Music, all this stuff. It has created that opportunity, but there's a big mindset and understanding from the music artist perspective of what that means. Yeah, I don't need the label anymore, but what they don't get is you're right, but you got to do everything the label did for yourself. You got to understand contracts. You got to understand branding. You got to understand marketing. I mean, there's a whole level to this. It just ain't uploading music to Spotify and waiting for someone to discover you. Good luck with that. That's a one, and you might as well play lottery. So I started gathering information for these guys, and the more I put out and the more I learned, more people started reaching out to me. But here's where we run into the problem. Salons, restaurants, real estate agents, they've got $500,000, $1,500 a month to retain me, which is what I charge as a retainer. And then on top of that, ad spend. These artists are all reaching out to me. Can you help me? Can you help me? I saw what you did for him. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, it's $500 retainer. Well, they don't have it. At least most of them don't think they have it. Now, if we're going to be honest, and I'm going to talk real to you artists, the money you spent renting that Airbnb and that Ferrari for your video and that bulletproof vest you're wearing and those guns you're carrying and that money you're throwing at the strip club and that pound of weed you smoke a month, you have money to pay me to market your stuff. But you didn't want to give that money up for marketing. The money you spent on studio engineers, the money you spent to buy or lease that beat, your Gucci belt and shoes, and your trip to Vegas, you had the money to pay me. But you trying to get a handout. I didn't fall for it. But really, there's a lot of independent artists, like any other startup person who might be working 9 to 5, coming home and just trying to do their music all night, all weekend, and don't have a lot of money, don't have the connections. So I didn't feel right trying to charge them. So just like I talked about earlier, when you get in a sticky situation like COVID-19, you got to pivot, right? So what can I do? And during one of my year-end reflections a couple years ago, December, I realized, man, I love mentoring. I feel like I was put on this earth to be a father. I mean, I just have a father's heart for anybody I get involved with, man. And I love marketing. And I love hip hop. And I'm like, man, how can I marry these three? Because if I married these three, And I was able to market hip hop artists who let me speak into their life and mentor them in business and everything else, I would be in heaven. And what I pivoted and kind of decided was, okay, they can't afford me. Well, what if I create courses and then I give them my knowledge, and then all of them can start utilizing it and sharing it. And I'll just put it out for the masses, because I've got to justify to my wife and my son and my daughter why I'm spending 60 hours a week in here talking to these hip hop people or creating courses for them and helping them build their income. And I got time away from my family. I've got to justify that, right? I got to pay the bills. So then the next step, I created a course. I was selling them for kind of high. I started looking at other people's courses in the same space that were doing the same thing, Spotify course and different stuff. They're $1,000. They're $500. Now we're back to really the same scenario. I got guys, I don't want to take $1,000 from them for this course. Besides that, here's my other problem with it. And I got terabytes of courses, terabytes. I've spent more than most people spend on college education. You talk about $500 courses, $1,000 courses, $5,000 courses. I got them all right here on the PC. So I'm a big believer in investing in yourself and doing that. But the music space is a little bit different, I felt. And somebody teaches, you buy $1,000 course on how to run a Spotify campaign, but 3 months later, they change the algorithm, or SEO changes in Google, or they got a Google update, Penguin, whatever, and you can't be on front page anymore doing the things you did 3 months ago. That's not fair that you just gave me $1,000 and the information I now sold you is outdated. And everything changes like this now. So I said, how do I fix that problem? So what I'm now moving towards, what I have been in the last several months this year, is building more of a Planet Fitness style subscription based courses. So you can come into the community, you pay less than $30 a month. You get access to all the courses I've ever made. I constantly will be updating them and doing new courses. And we've created a private Facebook community where you come in with all the other artists doing the courses, and we all get real-time feedback from each other. This is working great for me on YouTube. You guys need to try it. And then somebody else says, hey, Scott, I ran this ad, but it's not working the way you said it should be working. And then somebody else, they're all learning. And so then before I even get the response, somebody else can come in and say, man, your headline's kind of weak. I mean, I wouldn't probably click on that either. It just says out now. Who cares you're out now? I don't know who you are. Clickbait me into opening it, so they're working off each other. They're putting their videos in there, giving each other feedback. They're saying, hey, listen to my latest song. How's the mix and master? Is it any good? And it's just great, that community that we're all working with each other. It's a cheaper subscription model. It stays up to date in real time. And then I'm starting to do now some of the things that are really starting to enjoy. So now you're in the group, you've done the course. So I might pick one guy. I'm doing it right now for an artist named Sonny the Man. I've got it'll be over tomorrow. I'm running a Spotify ad for him, Instagram story ad to run people to Spotify. I've recorded the whole process that he and I have done together building this. Then I'll dump it in the group. Here's a case study. Here's exactly what we did. We ended up spending this much money. Here's how I built the ad. I used this software. Sonny sent me this. And so that's long answer again, I know, but
Yeah.
That's the gist of kind of how I got into this and how it's evolved.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing. That was awesome. What year did you start doing all this?
I've been selling online since '99. So a long time, but it's been about 2 years. Well, it was 2 years in July that I started helping that kid with his hip hop marketing. So December of that year, which would have been December 2018, I said, man, this would be my dream job to work with these hip hop artists. So then I started getting serious about it.
That's awesome. So it's not even like you jumped in the course game before other people did. I mean, it's so saturated now, but you kind of jumped into it in the middle and you still, got all that traction. So props to you for that. It's a heated space.
Yeah. And I'm not everybody's bag. But I think just about anybody who's interacted with me on, I've got 3,500 on YouTube, 10,000 on Instagram, nothing big. Couple thousand now have taken the courses. And then there's only like 30 of us, 25 of us in the community being mentored right now. But I think anybody who's had honest interaction with me can genuinely sense that I care about artists. I care about them. Yes, I'm trying to balance it because I do have to take care of my family. But I'm not trying to become a millionaire off of them, off the courses. I'm not trying to buy a Ferrari, none of that stuff. I genuinely care about them, and it's a passion project, and I enjoy it. And if I can make enough money to take care of my bills and feed my family, then that's what I'm trying to build. Now, I've got no hidden agenda, and all my guys know this. I'm looking to break an artist. I want to break one because that's going to create opportunities for both of us.
Yep.
And so that's my what's your selfish gain? That's my selfish motive. So if I break the next big artist, one of two things is going to happen. He's going to take me with him because I was there from the beginning and I'm the one who helped break him and he trusts me. Or I'm going to just be able to put that on the resume and say, hey, I now charge $150,000 to work with your camp or your record label. I'm the one who broke that artist. So that's the end game for me, the long term, how to get deeper into the industry for myself. But right now, I'm just trying to serve artists, build a reputation as the guy who gives away more free game and kind of a father. Like I said, the mentoring is a big thing to me, right? I've got guys calling me now, like guys I've never met in person, but with all this interaction online, are calling me, man, my girlfriend just left me, bawling. What do I do? And being able to talk to them about that stuff, give them some life advice. There's other guys, I'm having a conversation with somebody right now. And I told him, he's like, man, talk real to me, because you've kind of been quiet with me lately. I said, you've got more talent than about any artist I work with. Your work ethic sucks. I mean, you got to grow up. You're immature. I can't do nothing with you. I mean, I love you, but this is real dad talk. And I ain't your dad, but I'm real dad talk. Your work ethic sucks, man. I can't help you. I can't do nothing for you. The cemetery's full of talent, full of it, buried. Nobody ever discovered it. Got no work ethic. Hard work beats talent, right? We've heard it a million times. And it's true. Give me an average artist who's obsessed with this thing, and I'll ride with him every day over this talented kid who's just sleeping on his talent. That upsets me. It bothers me.
Oh, totally. It's a shame to watch talent just kind of sit there and not really, be used to its full potential. So I get that. Do you have any certain artists in particular you're working with that you're keeping an eye on that, you think could have the potential to really break through?
Yeah. This is where I'm going to drop some names. I'll drop some names because you asked. But it's hard, right? Because I don't want to hurt feelings of people in my community or they feel like I left them out. And it's not that, guys.
Yeah.
But so just about everybody that I work with, man, I really believe that the potential's there. Standouts to me, and I'll say standouts is really because their camp is so strong. And that's important to have a camp that really can do everything. Because what I said earlier, you got to be able to do everything the labels did. So if you've got friends around you and you've got one that can do some marketing and one that does video editing and filming and one that can mix and master and one that produces beats, and then you're the rapper, and then you got one that can build merch and run a Shopify store, and another one that can throw parties and knows everybody in the city. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for. Everything's in house already. That's an easy sell to the label. So there's a cat, and he's a friend of mine now. I consider him friend. In North Carolina, Shelby, North Carolina, Sonny the Man, and he's got a song right now called "Thrive" that's out, and I think it's a Billboard hit. I think there's a problem with one of the loops not being cleared, so we missed some opportunity on on some radio play and some different exposure that could have happened. I think he's working on trying to resolve that, but and he's got some songs that are even outperforming Thrive. But for me, my gut feeling when I hear Thrive, I'm just like, especially in this, this current thing that we're all going through, right? With all the protests and with Corona, it's just kind of an uplifting song that we're just going to have to put our head down and get through this thing, And
Yeah,
I
I like
listened
it.
to it, man. When it came out, I bet I listened to it 5 times a morning on my my commute for about a month. It was my get going song in the morning. So yeah, I'm a big believer in Sonny. We've been working together on a lot of projects. There's a camp here in Southwest Kansas, believe it or not. Now, come on, don't knock Kansas. I mean, we've got Strange Music and Tech Nine and some other people, but
Of course.
High America is got a lot of great rappers on their label out here in Southwest Kansas. A lot of good people. They got a good manager, Izzy. Very smart group. They got a great video maker. I mean, they've got everything in house too. But there's one kid, and I call him a kid. He's 20-some-year-old man, but I'm old, guys. You're kids to me. I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Love you guys, but there's one kid that he's got the it factor. He's it. He's a superstar. Just about every song he puts out is my favorite song, literally in hip hop, until he puts out his next song.
Wow.
And his name's Tory Lanez. And so yeah, I just absolutely believe in Tory and love Tory. And I'll say this about them. If either one of them, so listen to this, guys, I'm a believer that if either one of them brought me a banger, it's got to be one of their better songs that's 100% cleared, that we could use it anywhere. It's all theirs. And had, let's say, $1,000 budget and their team's willing to put in 6 months of hard work. I mean, that hard street club grinding work. I could take either one of those guys and make them Hot 100 Billboard in that 6
Wow.
months. They're that talented, and I don't doubt it. And I want one of them to do it because I want to break an artist. And those two could easily do it. I could easily do it with them.
There we go. Challenges out there. I'm gonna have to put this
You
out
ought to bring me the song.
Adam. Awesome, man. So how do you spell Tory Lanez? I want to give him a follow here.
TORIKNIX.
Got it. I'm gonna follow these guys, see how they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a couple great features that just came out that he'll be dropping. He was on recently a Davies mixtape. Another Kansas rapper, Heavy. They just did a song together. Should be dropping pretty soon. The video. Strong Kansas repping. But he's got a couple songs. He's got one out pretty recent, In My Shoes. And man, just really great song. Everything about it I love. Now he came, so maybe, man, last 2 summers ago, not this year, but maybe last year, came to my house, and it was one of the first couple times we met and interacted. And we're sitting on the back porch, and I asked him, I said, man, because out here where I live, it's predominantly Hispanic. And he kind of had a Hispanic look, but he looked more black. But you could see, he was lighter skinned. So I'm like, is he Hispanic? Is he black Hispanic? Is he white Hispanic, white, black Hispanic? Yeah. So I was just like, and I'm big into culture and languages and all. I love it. Very interested in people. So I'm like, hey, man, what's your ethnicity? Like, what's your background? And he says, man, I've been lied to so much, I don't know. And
What?
that like hit me deep, right? Especially as a dad, right? A father. I'm like, ooh, this is powerful. And so we're conversating about a bunch of stuff, and I can't get away from that comment. And so I keep taking him back to it. And he's like, look, I was in the foster system. Then I got adopted. But I really don't know the whole backstory to my family and all that stuff. I said, okay, now I get it. So we still were talking about some more. And I'm listening to his music. I've been watching his videos, and we've been interacting. So then and it's the same thing. He does a lot of the mainstream hip hop topics. So I just challenged him. I said, "Hey, I got a challenge for you, man." I said, "Why don't you do a song about adoption?" I know some people in the adoption world. I did social work and orphanages and all that stuff. I said, I think it's something I could market. Why don't you do something on that? Just put it together and let's see what we can do. And I've got a couple big plans still about it that we haven't done yet. Still working on it. But this was a while ago. So he dropped it for World Adoption Day last, whenever that is, October, November last year. So not quite a year ago. But when he sent it over to me, Brady, I was expecting like this happy song. I got adopted, God's good,
Yeah.
it was dark, about the hell he went through the foster system. And he called out names and he told real stories about what people put him through as a kid and how it PTSD'd him and he had to go to therapy. Now it ended on a high note. Thank God, that my parents adopted me and invested in me and helped me get through this. But man, it so moved me and I listened to it over and over and over to the point I told my wife on one of our nightly walks, I said, "Listen, man, I've been listening to this song. I think we're going to have to foster a kid." I mean, because if I can save one kid from the hell that Tory went through, I mean, listening to this song so moved me. It was so powerful. So he turned around and posted it. We posted it in different places on Reddit in some foster parent forums, some foster kid forums, and it got all kinds of people responding to it. And this mom, I mean, this is one of those things, building your 1,000 true. This isn't about marketing, but this is about building real connections. Then this mom reaches out to him and says, "I lost my kid because bad decisions. My kid's in a foster thing. We still sneak and FaceTime. My kid's talking about suicide, but you've been through this hell and you survived. And I think if you talk to my kid and he listens to your song, you might give him hope." And so Tory's reaching out to this kid. And to me, man, that's super powerful. But World Adoption Day is coming back around. I've got even bigger plans for it for this year's. Nobody still has even really heard it that much. It's got 6,000 spins, I think, on YouTube, the video. But yeah, it's powerful, super powerful. I think something will happen with that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's super powerful. Yeah, man. He going real world experience, I feel like that was such a powerful way to go about it. I mean, definitely not what you were expecting, but
yeah,
it's
he
real.
gave it to us raw and true. Yeah, for sure.
Man, crazy. Thanks so much for your time here. I don't want to keep you, all day on your Saturday. I've been following you for a bit now on Instagram. It's been really interesting following, the music industry and how you market for artists and things like that. I love music. I love keeping up with kind of the underground and independent artist scenes. Where can people follow you at?
I'm on Instagram at Gringo_Blair. I don't know if you can put that in the show notes or under the
I will. Yeah.
YouTube channel or something. It's not easy to remember. It's not the most marketable name. You would think I'd done better, but yeah, that's probably the best. I have a YouTube channel, Channel Zero Marketing. Those are the best two places to connect with me, especially on Instagram. If you shoot me a DM on Instagram, I'll eventually get to it. I've been getting a lot of messages. I just ran a campaign. I've got a distribution deal with Who Mag distribution, who does through Sony Orchard. So I'm looking for my first song. I want it to be special that I distribute through this Sony Orchard opportunity. So I kind of put an ad out about that to look for it. Dude, I got 200 submissions. I think 186. Wow. And guys are getting frustrated with me because, I'm busy, but I want to give an honest listen to everybody. So I'm trying to go through each video or song and give it an honest listen. I'm trying to send emails back to most of the people. I'm not going to do everybody, but most of the people. But you can imagine if I give an honest 3-minute listen and then type a 5 or 10 minute email to get through 200 songs, man, it's a lot of nights and weekends. So
Yeah,
these guys are going to have to be patient
man.
to hear me back, hear back from me. And here's the sad thing though, it's got to be 100% theirs. And most of the stuff I'm getting is already released. I asked for original stuff that hasn't been put out yet, but it's all been released. They're sending me Spotify links. But it's good. I'm discovering new artists and I'm hitting them back and saying, okay, I like your sound. When you get something unreleased that's 100% yours, hit me back. You're on my short list. But those are the two best places. Hit me on Instagram, DM me. Don't blow me up, but I do encourage you to follow up. Send something. You don't hear from me in a week. Send something again. Just, hey, I'm touching the base again. Don't lose sight of me. Keep yourself at top of funnel. Don't get pissed off at me if I don't respond the first 2 or 3 days. I'm listening to 200 songs. I will get back to you.
Yeah, guys, he's a busy man, but you've gotten back to me every time I've reached out, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, I know I have some follows from some young artists out there, so I recommend giving Scott a follow here. Even if you're not ready to buy a course up front already, even just following and seeing his posts, I know you'll learn a lot. And maybe you'll jump on a course down the road, but I definitely recommend it.
And yeah, and let me, if I don't do a shameless plug. So the community, it's $27 a month to access. And I'll tell you how I came up with that number, and there's no contract. So come in for 1 month, interact with everybody. If you say, man, this ain't got no value, Scott ain't adding nothing to me, these guys don't know what you're talking about, then bail out. No hard feelings. And it's not going to be everybody's bag. Some of you may be way ahead of these other artists. It's not going to be for you. But I encourage you. But what I did, and I pulled up to Chick-fil-A one day, and I've been wondering, how am I going to price this, right? So I pulled up Chick-fil-A. I got a number one meal. And I said, now I know what I'm going to do. I looked at the receipt. It was, I don't know, 6 and some change, 7 and some change. I did that times 4. If you eat out once a week and get a Happy Meal or a combo meal at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, it's $6 or $7. Times that by 4 times 7 is 28. But I mean, I did the tax and everything, and it ended up being, I rounded up to 20 or down to 27. And I said, every artist in the world I know grabs a sandwich once a week somewhere. Everybody, I don't care how broke you are, you're going through the drive-thru once a week, fast food. Most of us can stand to lose some weight. I'm talking about myself. So worst case scenario, you fast one lunch once a week. Every Wednesday, you say, I'm not going to go to that drive-thru. I'm going to give that $7 to this community. And you can afford to be with one of the best communities in the world and have some real marketing support and have a big team that otherwise you wouldn't have. And I don't think that's too hard of a sacrifice. And when I was building my social media business and selling those T-shirts and growing all that stuff, that's why the idea came to me. That was a little conversation in my head. I pulled up at drive-thrus and there was times I was flat broke, bro. And I pulled up at the drive-thru and I said, okay, I've got this campaign running. I'm doing great on these T-shirt sales. Do I want this $7 meal, or do I want to put that $7 to reach 1,000 more people in this T-shirt campaign? And I'm like, oh, you fat old man, you don't need this sandwich. Go invest in your business. And I would drive off.
Wow.
I went and donated plasma to get $40. And I laid there for the hour and a half it took to do the donation on my iPad and watched marketing videos, learning new skills, and to collect that $40 and go home and invest it into my marketing business. So I've done the things, and I do the things that I ask artists to do. I'm not asking you to do anything I wouldn't do. I'm not over asking, but yeah, you got to have a work ethic. You got to be willing to sacrifice for your dream. Or honestly, just like I told I don't want you in the community. We're not going to vibe. I'm not going to take you serious, and you're not going to respect what we provide.
Hey, that's motivation right there. Donating plasma to increase your ad campaigns. Love it.
Yes, sir. I was going to be laying home watching those YouTube videos on how to learn that new marketing thing anyways. So or somebody else's course I bought. So I might as well, if I'm going to lay there, get $40 for it. It's the way I looked at it.
Oh, it's hilarious. Scott, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a blast. And I get up in your neck of the woods all the time, too. So next time I'm up there, maybe we'll go grab a coffee or something.
Hey, let's do it. Sounds good.
All right, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you.